These are yours? Oh, he looks like he's ready to go. That's great.
Good man.
You need that sign? Tap one of them.
Got it. I'm meeting the mayor.
That'd be great. What does he do? And then the troop is going to do the pledge?
Yeah.
We blow troop?
Yep.
And you're their leader? Cool.
So you can just sit right here, and then the mayor will call it to attention, and then he'll say your name, and then he'll say the invocation by President All, and then you say it, okay? And then go back and get your flag. Okay.
For the natural resources presentation.
That's going to be killer, right? You're on the edge of your seat.
Back in the house. No, we do need to talk about water conservation.
Yes.
How to go to no question. Probably real
Anytime. We're game. Yeah.
Absolutely.
My superpower is
Thank you. Well, in my time. We'll call you. All right. Beautification also wants to team up.
Yeah. Exactly.
And planning. As well as water. No, I didn't steal it. This is it. Yeah, that's the light.
We're waiting on Tom. You're worth it. We'd like to welcome everyone out tonight to our Orem City Council meeting, and we would like to call this meeting to order. We would like to begin with a prayer given by Preston Aller and a pledge given by Weeblo Troop 894. So if Preston can go ahead.
Our dear and kind Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this day. We're grateful for that we could all be here, and I'd just like to thank you for our earth and all you've given us. We're grateful for that. And please just that we may have a good time while this is going. We're grateful for that. In the name of my Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
May the audience please rise. Color Guard forward march. Salute. Host the colors of the United States of America and of the state.
Push it forward and so it'll go down in. There you go.
Please repeat the Pledge of Allegiance after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. The audience may be seated.
He's in the back. I just think he needs he or Peter.
That's a good point.
Oh, I think
So we'd like to get a picture, if we could, with you. So if you want to come forward.
I don't know what's going on. I was just looking for a plug. buddy. Thanks for coming. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Mayor, these are I'm the Webelos leaders of these. We actually have 4 boys, and so I appreciate them coming and doing this for us. So,
Yes, thank you to their Webelo leader, Councilmember LeRae, and thank you to Troop 894.
thanks.
That's great. We'll now go on to the approval of the minutes. We've decided to postpone that approval for 2 weeks. So we'll go ahead and move on to upcoming events. Let's have a motion to postpone the minutes, if I could.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Mayor, if I could ask that when they do send out the minutes, please send out a red line version so we don't need to read the full set of minutes again, please.
Thank you. So for upcoming events, on March the 16th, we have an annual Leadership Day at the Northridge Elementary School from noon to 2:15. March the 19th, we have the City of Orem, Imagine Orem open house about State Street from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at the Orem Library at the Children's Wing. March 21st, we have the MAG, UDOT, and UTA Transportation Summit. And that will be from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Utah County Administration Building. March the 29th, we have the Utah Valley Chamber of Commerce Pillar of the Valley event at 7 p.m. at the Utah Valley Convention Center. April the 10th, we have the Quick Quack Car Wash ribbon cutting, 11:30 a.m. on 1600 North State. April the 21st, we have the Sunset Heights East Neighborhood Picnic at noon at the Community Park. April the 25th through the 27th, we have the Utah League of Cities and Towns mid-year conference at the Dixie Center in St. George. May the 3rd, City of Orem, we have the Geneva Road area-wide plan, 6 p.m. at the Orem Public Works Building. May the 19th, we have the Miss Orem Scholarship Pageant, Miss Orem 2018, 7 p.m. at the Cirrus Center for the Arts. And May the 28th, we have the City of Orem Heritage Advisory Commission Memorial Day program at 9 a.m. at the cemetery. After all those events, we'll go ahead and go on to a couple of appointments to boards and commissions. So we have a reappointment to the Care Tax Advisory Commission of Christine Alleman, and we have the appointment to the Summerfest Advisory Commission of Katrina Blale. Is there a motion to go ahead and make these appointments?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we have a report from the Natural Resources Stewardship Committee. Christian Kirkham and Sarah Bateman are presenting, I believe. Christian, maybe you can introduce everyone with you here.
Sure, thank you. Mayor, City Council, members of the audience, thank you for your time. My name is Christian Kirkham. I'm a city planner with the City of Orem, and I'm also the city liaison to the Natural Resources Stewardship Committee, who's here with us tonight. And I'm pleased to introduce them. The Natural Resources Stewardship Committee is a fairly new committee for the city. We just turned a year old. And we've had the pleasure of working alongside Councilman Sumner and now Councilman Lentz. So we're here to present our annual report to you tonight. I have with me Quinn Meekum. He's our newest member of the committee. Darren Hawkins. And the committee's chair is Sarah Bateman. We up and running? Okay. So Sarah is our chair. She's been our leader, and she's been awesome to work with, and I'm going to go ahead and turn the time over to Sarah for the annual report.
Thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit about what we've been up to this past year. The Natural Resources Stewardship Committee was unanimously approved by the City Council on the 21st of June, 2016. And we had our first meeting the beginning of January of 2017. Our committee is made up of 5 volunteer citizens. And then we have our Christian Kirkham as our city liaison. Cheryl Vargas and Brent Sumner was our city council member last year. I've included a couple of slides to give you a little background about some of our committee members and their experience and what they're bringing to this committee. As you can see on this slide, this represents affiliations of some of our committee members that includes educational institutions, city, county, state, national, and international levels in reference to environmental stewardship. Here's another slide about some of the crazy things we're up to in the area of solid waste diversion, transportation, energy efficiency, things that we're trying to upgrade our homes to reduce how much energy we're using, and water and food, both in gardening and preserving. We, of course, enjoy outdoor recreational opportunities, which there are abundant opportunities here, and we love where we live. And so here's a little photo of some of the things that we like to do. We like eating food, apparently. Gardening, community events, again, escapes out into the mountains nearby, taking advantage of the City of Orem's glass recycling bin down at the Public Works building, composting, and riding our bikes to local farm stands to support local growers. So in this first year, we were very interested in trying to start building relationships with other internal city departments, find areas where our goals overlap, and act as kind of a support and a boost to those other city departments and see how we can provide free additional support. So the city manager's office, the Public Works, Transportation, and then outside of the city of Utah, of the city government itself, Utah Valley University, Waste Management, and the Orem Community Hospital, Live Well Gardens. So here are a couple of things that we've kind of worked on or participated in throughout the year. The Intermountain Sustainability Summit, it has been around for about 7 or 8 years, and it's hosted up at Weber State. It's an opportunity for representatives from government, from the business sector, and from the nonprofit sector to come together and talk about the challenges that we face and the opportunities to find creative solutions and innovate when it comes to environmental sustainability issues. So the keynote speaker was Mary Robinson. She is a former president of Ireland. And we had representatives there in attendance also from Provo's Sustainability and Natural Resources Committee and Utah Valley University students and faculty members. Earth Day. We decided to sponsor an Earth Day meme contest and reach out to the youth of our city and reach out to the high schools to encourage them to do what they do best on social media and create funny memes. So we invited them to submit memes, and some other high school students then judged those memes. The winner would get the winning meme would be posted up on the digital billboard at University Place on Earth Day, and also local businesses donated a bunch of prizes for the winner. So the winning meme was Earth Goose. We had a lot of fun with this, and we are looking forward to seeing what the youth have in store for us this year. In May, we organized a tour of North Point Transfer Station in Linden, and for those who might not be aware of what happens to your garbage when it leaves your curb, the garbage truck picks it up, and then it takes it here to the North Point Transfer Station in Linden, where it then is loaded onto even larger trucks and then taken to the landfill. So this is a little bit of something that we saw. These are the things that we are interested in, looking at garbage and talking about it. Hey, we've got to all have hobbies, right? So, as you can see here, this is a quote from the Recycling Coalition of Utah. Of the garbage Americans throw out, half could be recycled, which is enough to fill a football stadium from top to bottom every day. So as we look towards projections of our population growth in the area, fostering an attitude of reduce, reuse, recycle will come in handy for taxpayers, because building a new landfill, that will cost taxpayers money, and it will cost transportation costs. And so if we kind of look to rethink how we deal with our garbage, and also all the resources that can still be used in this, and then that's something that could stretch out the lives of our current landfills and boost the economy, the reuse and recycling economy domestically. Touch a Truck. This was a great, fun event for those of you who were in attendance. You know everybody is hoping you're going to do it again this year. It was a fan favorite. And, girls and boys of all ages loved this. So,
Sarah,
yes.
I don't think I've seen a turnout quite that big other than the trunk event for Halloween, but with the police and fire. But this was huge.
It really was.
And the kids were highly interested. And I think back when I was a kid, I never had a chance to touch a truck and see what it was like. So, great.
Yes, it was a great idea, so keep it up. Our committee members helped facilitate Waste Management's recycling relay games, where guests tested their knowledge of what common household items can go in the blue recycling bins. So then we move on to the Proclamation of Sustainability Day. This is something that was worked out with UVU, and the mayor submitted a proclamation that October 25th would be known as Sustainability Day. So Mayor Bruntz concludes the proclamation by calling upon all responsible citizens to do their part in helping protect and preserve our natural resources for future generations. Utah Valley University Sustainability Day. This was something that one of the professors who had attended the Intermountain Sustainability Summit up at Weber State earlier in the year was inspired by what they were doing there and wanted to create kind of an anchor in Utah County to provide a similar opportunity for those here regionally to also discuss local challenges and opportunities. So this was our booth display, and we worked with the city manager's office. They provided these infographics to educate the public about what the city is currently doing in stewardship efforts. As you can see, it ranges from bike lanes to energy efficiency to water conservation efforts. And we look forward to seeing how that develops over the years. But Orem's off to a great start. Just also engaging the students, the rising generation on the kinds of things that they're interested in, on the things that they do to work on stewardship. We also, Christian prepared a survey on Orem Forum to reach out to students and faculty and other guests at UVU to ask their opinions about possible changes in the ordinance, the landscaping ordinance. So that was a great opportunity to reach out to a lot of people and get some feedback. And for the swag that we offered at our table was Orem grown apples and wildflower, a packet of wildflower seeds. So in the fall, we were approached by some UVU Environmental Management Service Learning students interested in doing a kind of research project with the city on some kind of recycling. They were interested in recycling specifically. So we reached out to the city, the fitness center, and asked if the students might be able to conduct a garbage audit. And Mitch Lewis over there, he graciously saved a day's worth of garbage at the fitness center. And then the students came the next day. And here you see on the left, at the top left, they are weighing the garbage, the bags of garbage initially. And then bottom left, you see they are sorting through the garbage and separating out what in theory could be recycled or reduced and what is legitimate waste that ends up in the landfill. And so you can see them at the end, all smiles. So what their audit discovered was that probably about 50% of the waste that is currently being sent to the landfill, in theory, could be diverted through reduction efforts and recycling efforts. The Utah Valley University Social Innovation Challenge, this is something that reaches out to students and encourages them to think critically and creatively about local issues specifically, and how we can use that creativity and innovation to find some possible solutions. So this year's theme, or rather last year's theme, was Clear the Air, Help Solve Utah's Air Quality Problem. So we had, I as the committee chair and Christian were asked to sit on the panel of judges, and we were able to, there were 8 teams, and they each presented a 3-minute video pitching their ideas on how we can reduce the pollutants in the Utah County airshed. That was really entertaining. I love this big wrestler's belt as their prize. At the end of the year, we were invited by LDS Earth Stewardship, which is based mainly originally in Utah County, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they invited a lot of other organizations in the area to listen to journalist Florence Williams discuss her latest book called The Nature Fix: Why Nature Makes Us Happier, Healthier, and More Creative. And she goes around the world and follows scientists who are studying the benefits of nature and how that can help. We saw a lot of possible applications for city planning and the benefits not only to the people but also financial benefits for the city. And to finish up, we are in the middle of working with the city manager's office to build up our webpage so that as residents who are interested in learning about what the city of Orem is doing when it comes to environmental stewardship, they can reach us. Here's a screenshot of how it is currently, and we look forward to continuing to build on that. We'll probably add those infographics that we shared at Sustainability Day. And then currently and future initiatives include air quality data collection at a local elementary school, waterwise landscaping ordinance project with BYU students, supporting public works on water conservation education, supporting the city, Transportation Advisory Commission, and the Orem Bicycle Coalition on Cycle Fest. We look forward to that. And then support Orem Community Hospital's Live Well Gardens in honoring fruit and vegetable gardens grown in Orem. And a lot more. We're an eager bunch of enthusiasts, and you've got a lot of free labor right here that we're eager to continue to see how this committee can grow and develop. So, thank you. So
thank you for the report, and thank you for your good work. I'm excited to see what you come up with for this next year. And the work you're doing is very important. I feel like it's something that we all should be involved in recycling and using our waste for other products if possible, and to keep our landfill usage down. And I know that you personally don't send much to the landfill. Do you want to give us a personal report over the last few months?
Well, let's see. I just took my garbage out today. It was full today, and it's been 10 weeks, so 2.5 months since the last time we took out our garbage.
So I would love to see you do a report on the website on how you do that. and yeah, do a video. Teach the rest of us.
All right. But we'll work on it.
Okay. That's a challenge. Sam, do you have a comment?
Just make sure it's a time-lapse video so we don't have to spot. So I really wanted to compliment this committee and the effort that you're doing to collaborate and work with the other committees and commissions we have as a city. I think sometimes there might be a tendency to focus on kind of your lane or your silo if you're a citizen volunteer in one of these committees, but I love to see that you're actively and eagerly looking for those opportunities to partner with some of these other committees. So excited to work with you. Thank you.
Yes, Debbie.
I just want to know, are you guys aware of our new Purple Air things that have been
sensors.
And are you going to be promoting that, or do you have any idea how you're going to use that new data?
Yes, I am actually, because I learned about this at the time when we started doing an air quality and idling research project at Geneva Elementary. It's a new STEAM school, so we partnered with the students to collect data on idling habits outside at pickup time and possible ways that we could encourage parents to turn off their cars while they're waiting for their students. And so we learned about the purple air, and we're looking forward to building on that and seeing where that takes us. That's exciting.
You know, that would be interesting to do a small study of one school to see how much difference there is in the air by turning your car off versus not. So, could be a huge difference. Any other members of the council want to make a comment? Mark, you look like you want to say something.
I've had the pleasure of working with Sarah on several committees at UVU, and it's really fun to see students get engaged in these activities. A lot of awareness, increased awareness, a lot of great activities. So she was one of the judges on our competition, and she did a great job. So, Chris, were you there too? Were you on? And yeah, we had a couple of judges here, so good representation. It's great.
So thank you to all of you. We appreciate your fine efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'd now like to have an annual.
Mayor,
Yes.
Mayor, I believe there are several people waiting to hear that 16 has been continued. Can we let them know so they don't need to stay longer? Not that they wouldn't love your report. If you could let them know that.
Okay.
They're waiting.
So item 16 will be continued. I think we've told most of them, but anyway. I talked to him before.
I know, but he said he wasn't going to leave till he heard it from here.
All right, whatever. So we now have an annual report from Judge Parkin of the Orem Justice Court.
Mayor Brunston, City of Member Council, it's nice of Orem. Nice to be here with you. Thank you for your services and all that you do.
Thank you.
It is a privilege to be able to serve individuals in our communities, and I enjoy that as well, and thank you for your service. Tonight's comments, as you know, it's been a rich history for judges to present to the governing body or legislative body at all levels of government, and it's a great opportunity to be here tonight. I welcome those newest council members. I haven't had a chance to report in front of them, and so it's nice to spend a few minutes with you. We're going to
actually, all of our council members were reelected, so we don't have any new ones.
No new ones?
No new ones.
Yeah. I guess that's the separation of branches. I'm not as familiar with all of them, so
you're fine.
Thank you. Your judge is the same too, by the way. Yeah, we haven't changed there. So, I'd like to take a few minutes here on some background and kind of look at a time perspective in tonight's report. It wasn't many years ago the city of Orem chose to have their judicial services provided by a justice court as opposed to have that done through the district courts system. Early 2019 will be my guess. Petitions were made and the city judicial council was approached. And on September 2010 began the first operations of the City of Orem Justice Court. We started that in September, and we're going to take a little bit of a history back over the last, we're in our 8th year, but take a look at the last 7. We were some unique things. We are very emphasized in technology. First court in Utah at any level to be paperless. We still drive a lot of the technology for the Utah State Court system by some of the examples we've been able to implement in this court through a very capable Orem IT department, as well as a vision of the court administrator and myself, who we are passionately always into technology. The court is ran by one court administrator. By statute, it's recognized as the clerk of the court. We have 6.2 FTE clerks. They comprise mostly full-time, but some part-time clerks who do fill together at 6.2 FTEs and one judge. We're going to cover some statistics, and it's kind of an overview of the last several years. We're going to show, first of all, totals, and understand that totals in statistics come from criminal filings by your city prosecution team, traffic filings, and small claims filings. Okay, let's move to the totals then. If you go on a perspective on total cases filed, as you recall, we started the court in 2010, but 2011 would be the first full year of statistics, so we're going to start with 2011, and then, of course, 2017 is the last full year we would have any statistics on. As you can see, 2011 through 2017, these are the numbers that were a total filing between criminal, traffic, and small claims. 2015 and 2016, a little bit total filings down, but at 2017, pretty consistent with 2014. Let's go to the next one. Of those filings, traffic filings consisted this portion of those overall statistics. Again, down a little bit in 2015 and 2016, but overall, in 2017, overall filings were up over the two previous years, a little more in line with 2014. Let's go to the end of criminal cases filed. Criminal cases for 2011 through 2017. Last year was a total of 1715 criminal cases. Now, it's not talked about in the slides here tonight, but just a little bit of maybe a focus on this. Traffic cases in justice courts throughout the state of Utah do comprise of most of the filings. That's a matter of fact. Most traffic cases, though, don't occupy a lot of the court time. Most people, like myself, I've even had a ticket or two over the years, and unfortunately, that happens. And you come forward, you bail forfeit your ticket, your fine. That's what I've chosen to do anyway, and I pay a fine.
So, Judge, if you don't mind me breaking in, how many actually contest their traffic tickets?
Don't have the number here tonight, but I would imagine on average on traffic, on a weekly basis, we pre-trial, I'm going to say 80 to 100 traffic cases that are contested.
Per week?
Per week. They meet with the city's prosecutor. By far, the large amount of those 100, and that's an estimate. Most of those are resolved between the plaintiff, which is the city of Orem, the prosecutor, and a resolution's reached even on those. I would say that we set probably 4 to 5 traffic bench trials weekly.
Okay, thank you.
So as you can see, out of the 4 or 5 contested, 100 of those are probably brought to pretrial per week, but the majority of those are simply bail forfeited. And while the clerk's staff may be busy on traffic filings overall, they don't occupy a lot of the judge's time other than the bench trial times of those contested. Great question. Let's go on and move on to the next one then. Criminal cases do comprise of a smaller numeric amount of filings, thank goodness, right? That we don't have as many criminal cases as we do public safety, perhaps enforcement. But in the court, 1750 criminal cases filed last year. The most typical type of criminal cases filed with the justice court, and that's true with all justice courts in Utah, are domestic violence assaults, DUIs, retail theft, simple possession type charges, city ordinances that this body makes and policies for the city of Orem. Those types of things are criminal case filings. Unlike the traffic, though, most criminal cases are challenged. And so these are the pretrials and the court hearings through arraignments, pretrials, working with attorneys, sometimes not attorneys, sometimes people represent themselves. They're referred to as pro se defendants or self-representative litigants, and the court has a responsibility to process them, make sure the processes are fair and equitable between the plaintiff and the defendant. Of those criminal cases filed,
Judge, we have a question from Councilmember McDonald.
Does the city prosecute cyber crimes, identity theft, or is that at a different court level?
We don't see those crimes prosecuted. The jurisdiction of a justice court is by classification of crime. Most crimes filed in the justice courts are criminal or state statute crimes. Justice courts, by definition and rule, have jurisdiction. It's a territorial jurisdiction as well as a subject matter jurisdiction, and the subject matter is classifications of crimes, which are Class B misdemeanors and lower. So if those types of offenses have higher classifications, such as Class A or third degrees, those are heard in district court. So justice courts have jurisdiction over misdemeanor crimes from a Class B down to an infraction, traffic, and small claims, while district court, trial court judges have jurisdiction over Class A's and felonies, family law, and civil cases where the suit is above $11,000. So not too many of those crimes are prosecuted either by classification, and it's probably because of classification. We don't see those often in justice courts. Any other questions on that? The last category of filings with the court that makes up the total filings annually is small claims. 2017 had a lower than normal filing of small claims. Now, small claims is where parties suing each other file a small claims action. The jurisdiction is where the claim arose or where the defendant resides, and the suit has to be of 11,000 or less. I believe the number in case filings, the lowering amount of case filings in 2017 is probably a direct result of primarily where state statutes have changed regarding payday lending type companies. And so we don't see as many of those types of agencies filing with the court like we did in the past because I believe some of the statute changes. There is a trend nationally, though, to civil cases. Filings are down generally. A lot of individuals and contracts are now comprised of alternative dispute resolutions or mediation or arbitration. And so case filings in a civil nature sometimes goes down. But I think the 2017 reflection and reduction of filings is primarily as a result of state statute changes regarding payday lending type companies. Okay? So the last slide is the same as the one we started with, which in statistics, and that's just, again, the summary of case filings overall. In 2017, the court had filed 16,243 cases comprising of traffic, criminal, and small claims. Okay, let's move on then. This court, I've never reported on revenue or courts collected through fines, but since we're looking at a perspective of several years, 2011 and through 2017, these are full years. In our last presentation, there was a couple questions about, Judge, now we don't receive all the monies collected in a fine. The answer to that is absolutely true, we do not. In funds collected in 2011, let's go with 2017, $2.5 million roughly was collected. The court is also a collecting agency for surcharges, which is sent to the state for various funds as defined by statute. So $2.5 million was collected, $954,000 distributed to the appropriate surcharges by law, and then revenue retained was $1.6. I'd like to speak for a few minutes about the climate of the court. The court still enjoys what I believe is a fair amount of confidence with the people who do attend court. It's becoming much more busier, not necessarily as a result of case filings increase, but what is not spoken about tonight is review cases, probationary cases, those types of cases. A lot of cases are being challenged, more so than maybe in years past, and so they do occupy a lot of time. I'm always passionate about delivering business in a way that's efficient and fair, and so the tone of communication, I think we continue to maintain a court with little or no complaints, which is always a great goal when you're dealing with conflict as a nature of the business. I'd like to highlight, though, some of the climate that I enjoy observing in the court clerks. There's low turnover rates with the clerks. I find them to be professional and capable. I attribute that to many things. One, they have job satisfaction. I think the City of Orem provides an attractive package. They seem to be satisfied. And the tone and the environment which we try to create in a difficult environment, I think, is positive, and I appreciate their good work. We also benefit in Orem City by an outstanding clerk of the court, known to us as the administrator, known as by statute as the clerk of the court. And Jody Thaneau is that individual. She and I have been together since the inception of the court. She's a very capable person, and I have great respect for her. She balances the needs of the courts in the city, and she is well regarded amongst her peers. We just simply work well together, and it's very pleasing and enjoyable to have such great skills and support in the support staff of the court. I meant to indicate that I do invite and would like questions. I don't know if any of the things we talked about, they're fairly basic here tonight, but I thought an overview of many years might be most appropriate. Is there any questions that I could answer? Probably can't answer specific case questions, but generic questions or general questions, I'd be happy to spend some time.
Councilmember LeRae has one.
I noticed that your criminal cases were the highest you'd had over the last several years. Is there a reason for that? Are we doing a better job catching people? Or are we doing, or is it just our police is doing? I mean, what do you think is the difference?
Well, we can let the executors who supervise those functions perhaps weigh in if they'd like to as well. Enforcement one thing about the court has no control over its caseload. Cases are only filed, of course, by the executive branch through law enforcement efforts and prosecution filings. Is there changes in strategies in criminal investigations? Probably not. It could just be simply an increase in crime. If city managers or anyone else has any input regarding the police department, but as a result, it is impacting the court. I have not spoken to it. I think we're adequate at this point. But if, as we talked about in traffic cases, the enforcement of traffic is definitely the result of law enforcement efforts, for sure. I think it's a pretty obvious correlation. Criminal might be simply an increase in crime and the natural result of that. I don't know if any provisions or anything in technology or other things have been changed in the operations of the police department to create more where the crime's the same, but it does impact the court and even the prosecutors greatly, because of all the traffic cases that were listed earlier, the judge doesn't touch or feel or spend time with most traffic cases. However, if criminal case filings goes up, a tremendous impact is had on the court because 100% of those have to be touched by the judge and through the process. And that same is true and reflects even the prosecutorial efforts in the city attorney's office. Most city attorney prosecutors don't feel or touch ever a traffic case unless they're contested, same as the judge. But they always touch and have to spend time on criminal filings, and so tremendous impact. And we are keeping statistics on some of those impacts because we're feeling it, I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
But I don't have a direct specific answer to why more criminal cases filed this year. It surely is a result of filings and through investigations. That's the origin of all of them. But whether crime rates have increased in Orem, I'm not prepared to speak to that.
Okay,
no.
Thanks.
Any other comments from the council or questions? Yes, Councilmember Seastrand.
I know we kind of measure capacity a little bit by how long it takes cases to move through, but overall, do you feel like the level of staffing, you're doing pretty good? You're able to move through the cases pretty quickly?
There's two parts to that question. I'd like to break it into two parts. As far as clerk staffing, in consultation with Jody Thno, the court administrator, we believe that the current clerk staffing is appropriate. They're able to keep up with that. I hinted a little bit in the council member's question about criminal cases filings, and I hinted that the court has felt a greater impact. I'm not prepared tonight to specifically say what that impact is, but I know that the city's prosecution team and the judge has felt tremendous increase, and it's difficult. The days are different. For example, last Wednesday, there was 133 cases on the court's calendar. 133 divided by the hours on the bench. It's pretty quick justice to have to move through that many cases. The pretrial conference times currently for prosecutors are packed and overscheduled. Yesterday, for example, I entered the bench in the AM calendar and worked through the lunch, and I didn't even leave the bench until the afternoon calendar started. I left for 5 minutes to use a restroom break and back on the bench. This type of scenario happens, I would say, 3 or 4 times a day, every week, and has been doing so for the last 8 months. Clerk staff is struggling to get lunches, at least the ones that are with me in court. I'm not prepared. I think we're fine for now. I think we'll probably have some discussions with statistics with Mr. Manning here a little bit. But the increased criminal cases, which all then ultimately end up in a probationary status for the most part, then also then require more reviews because many people are not compliant to court orders and violate probation standards. When they do that, then we bring them back in, and so the court's calendar is different answer. I think we need to have a look and review, and we'll do that with the city's administrators. We may look forward to maybe a report on that specific question, but as far as staffing and clerks, we're fine. But prosecution and judge indications do have some increased load for sure. More lunches and working through the lunches, and it's happening every day, and every calendar day is overbooked, to be honest with you.
Just in looking at their monthly reports for new cases filed, cases cleared, that number is pretty close every month, where it's they're not back,
Not a lot.
backfilled.
Big backlog. Right. Excellent work.
Any other questions?
Councilor Lentz?
So item 15 tonight is a consent item, and I know that we're not intended to have a lot of discussion, but I did have a question that relates to that.
Please.
Would the temporary judges to be appointed, would that help with that demands as far as caseload goes? Or is that simply, if you're not able to attend, essentially they can fill in?
They could fill in either capacity. We only use them traditionally to fill in. Typically, the judge's schedule, if I take a vacation, it's known in advance. It's difficult for me to take a vacation unless I block time out 3 or 4 months in advance, because that's how far out we are typically in our scheduling. And so we typically use these for conflict cases, or if an unanticipated illness or something occurs, then we need someone to fill in quickly. So we use them rarely. We often use Judge Romney out of Provo, and he often uses me if he has a conflict as well. And so where we're both full-time employees, we don't exchange budget issues or concerns. We just, as a courtesy, step in when we need to, perhaps particularly in a conflict case. There was one time in many years in criminal justice, I don't spend sick time. I'm not a judge who uses much sick time. There was a half a day a couple weeks ago where diverticulitis attack occurred, and we did pull someone in for half the day, Brooke Sessions, and so rather than counseling that afternoon, we did bring Brooke Sessions as one of the judges on that consent item. So occasionally there is an opportunity for that. I think as we sat down and determined if we could do a little bit of catch-up and maybe a one-time emphasis or a blast, if you will, on judicial, that could be a mechanism which we could do that without affecting the hiring. But I think the discussion and the decision is a little premature. I think I'm just openly expressing some weighted impact that I know is felt and shared by the prosecution team, and I surely feel it too, because many days or hundreds of cases where I think an ideal caseload would be more around 80, not 133 a day. So.
Okay. And Richard, for item 15 tonight, are we appointing specific judges as temporary judges, or is that just the mechanism? We're approving the mechanism.
There's a list on the resolution by name.
Okay.
So state statute requires that substitute judges have to be ratified by the governing body of the council. We've taken a couple of names off and added a couple, and this is a reflection of just keeping our standby judges, if we need them, in compliance and readily available if we should have to deploy or ask them to fill in. So.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question? Thank you. It's a wonderful opportunity to serve, and it's nice to be here with you, and good luck as you go forward. Thank you so much.
Appreciate your good service, Judge, and your dedication to taking care of all the cases in front of you. Thank you very much.
My privilege. Thank you.
We'll now go to the personal appearance section of our meeting this evening, and there are no names. No one has signed up, so we'll go ahead and close that portion and move on to consent items. The first item is a resolution appointment of temporary judges to serve on the Orem Justice Court. Background states Utah Code Section 78A-7-208 allows the City Council to appoint temporary judges to serve on the Orem Justice Court. Temporary judges may serve when the Orem Justice Court is absent or has a conflict of interest. A temporary Justice Court judge can be any senior Justice Court judge or a Justice Court judge currently holding office within the judicial district or in an adjacent county. You don't have a list yet, do you? Okay. So we have a list of those that are being considered. Thank you. The Councilmember Lentz pulled up. The City Council, by consent, hereby appoints the following judges to serve as temporary judges in the Orem Municipal Justice Court: Vernon Romney, Sherilyn Fenstermaker, Scott Cullimer, Randy Birch, Kelly Schaefer Bullock, Scott Mickelson, and Brooke Sessions. Would someone like to make a resolution to appoint those temporary judges?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Need a roll call on that.
Well, we'll now go to a scheduled item, which is a continued item for an ordinance amending Appendix A of the Orem City Code by changing standard land use codes 4850 solid waste disposal and 5193 scrap and waste materials from permitted to not permitted uses in the M1, M2 zones. I would move that we continue this item until March the 27th at 6 p.m. Is there a second?
There's a second.
Okay. We'll start with Councilmember Sumner.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, this item is continued until the 27th of March. We'd now like to go on to item 17, which is a public hearing over the 2017 Water Conservation Plan. This is a resolution adopting the 2017 Water Conservation Plan as required by Utah State Code 73-10-32, and Chris Shirkey and Neil Winterton are our presenters.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. If you could just give us a minute, we will get our presentation ready. We are looking forward to working with the Natural Resources Committee as well as the Beautification Commission on further implementing water conservation methods and plans, and perhaps even new ordinances with the Planning Department. And so we'll be presenting to you tonight on the 2017 Water Conservation Plan. By state law, we're required to adopt a new conservation plan every 5 years and present that to the City Council. That's in accordance with State Code 73-10-32. We have some good news to report regarding our conservation efforts. Perhaps the main measurable objective is to decrease our gallons per capita per day, and we're on a positive trend. And when I mean positive, I mean a downward trend, just to emphasize that. So Neil Winterton is our Water Resources Manager. I'm the Public Works Director, and we're here to present to you on this issue. Neil has been asked to give the presentation, and we'd be willing to entertain any questions during the presentation as we go.
Yeah, thanks for hearing us, and thanks for being here to the City Council, and welcome any YouTube viewers as well. The City Council has received this in advance, actually about a few weeks ago, and we gave a detailed presentation in the work session 2 weeks ago. And so tonight we're going to recap some of the highlights of the plan, and as required by the code, we'll hopefully ask you to adopt the plan. So Chris mentioned our downward trend in gallons per capita per day. 2012, the individual year was 296. That's 296 gallons per person per day for each citizen counted in the city of Orem, and our 10-year average at that time was 268.
Neil, Councilmember Lentz has a question.
Yeah.
So, just curious with the, what was measured in that year versus the 10-year average. Are you expecting that 254 will essentially be the new standard and continue going down from there, or will it be lagging more like the 261?
I believe we'll see a yearly decrease each year. And when we get to the 10-year average chart, I will explain a little bit about what happened in 2012. It was actually not an overall increase, but I actually corrected the population number. So when that numerator changed, it actually bumped things up a little bit. I'd corrected some assumptions because we had some data back from the census. So you'll see here in 2012 that number bumped up, and then it continued to trend downward. The reality is, if we would have continued to use the population statistics that were used in the previous plans, it would have shown to keep decreasing. So really just a population adjustment there, but overall I'm pleased that even with that, the trend continued to go downward. A part of one of the largest factors for us in Utah is the weather and our outdoor watering practices. When we have a dry year, we end up using more water, and that plays into the gallons per capita per day. Outside of the anomaly in 1970 that we probably could eliminate statistically, we have a downward trend overall from 1960. Very good chart. The state was well pleased with our efforts. The feedback I got on our plan was they were well pleased in our reporting and the things that we are currently doing to meet the goals that we've established.
So do you know what happened in 1970? Is that a reporting issue, or? Well, or was there
probably
some anomaly?
Probably the wheel on the old measuring device got stuck or something, or there was a fat pen. I can't speak to that, but that's the data we have, and
we'd throw that out as an outlier.
Yeah, I probably should, just to get rid of it, but it's there, and we have that point on the.
So do you expect that downward trend has more to do with people being more conscious and making a concerted effort to conserve, or is it with high density housing in a lot of cases, there are more people sharing that common grass area versus one single family home with a front yard and a backyard and things?
I think you could say that it's both, but our core citizen and our core development is a single family home in Orem. Even though we have several multifamily units in Orem, our water data comes from our single family. It is weighted heavily towards the single family home. And I believe it's towards a conscious effort, an advertising campaign of the Slow the Flow campaign.
There are also improvements in water fixtures in homes and so forth. You'll see wise water use fixtures from irrigation systems to toilets to valves inside a home and so forth that are being implemented and used a lot more. And so I think that is also attributed to this downward trend as well.
Yeah, I'd like to point out that our data comes from our source meters. So this is not the individual home meter. This is our source meters that we produce. So there could be some losses in water line leaks throughout our system. And we have increased our effort in reducing leaks within our own system as well. Go ahead, Mayor.
Well, I was just going to say that's a pretty significant reduction percentage-wise.
Yeah,
so
especially if you look from 2012 to 2000.
Yeah, you're in the 24%.
Very good overall downward trend. The individual year is not as important to me as the 10-year average, because our year-to-year fluctuations with weather, when you have a 10-year average, it eliminates that variable to some degree. So moving on, the plan is based on goals, and it's a long plan, but it's reduced down to goals and efforts that we're doing as a city. And we've been producing this plan for many years, and in 2012 we wanted to continue the governor's goal that started in the year 2000 of 25% by 2025, and we are on that path. And our goal for 2017 is to continue on that path and keep that 10-year average going down. So that's our number one goal. Our number two goal.
Just if I could comment on that as well, in conjunction with the Natural Resources Committee, Beautification Commission, and an increase in our budget for public outreach and public education, we feel like we can also influence that from the outside and have a public education campaign that will go forward to educate people about wise water use, also in conjunction with the Central Utah Water Conservancy District and their Conservancy Garden area.
Our second goal in 2012 was to develop an effective conservation-oriented water pricing structure within 1 year. We didn't quite make that goal in the 1 year, but we did make the goal, and we have in place a water pricing structure that meets the standards set forth by the state legislature, and we are moving forward with that. So our goal is to continue to implement the 2016 Water Master Plan and the financial plan's published rates. Our third goal is to replace all old meters with new meters within 5 years. That was our goal in 2012, and in 2017 that goal will continue to be in place, and we believe with the financial plan and the capital plan we have in place, we will meet that goal by replacing all meters in the next 5 years. We're implementing that process now, and we'll talk about that in another goal as well.
So since Orem's inception in 1919, we haven't really had a formalized water meter replacement plan, but with the 2016 master plan, we've adopted that. And so we feel that that's a significant goal that we've achieved and that you've also adopted as a city council.
The fourth goal was to perform a professional water loss study within 2 years. We met the goal last year, and we have a new goal to perform a water loss study every other year. This is a little snapshot to tell us how we're doing as a city, and I mentioned that we have the source meter data. Soon we will have individual meter data on a daily basis, and that will really give us information into the use of our commodity. Our goal number 5 in 2012 was to develop and implement an effective water reuse plan. We have developed and we are implementing an effective water reuse plan. Lakeside Sports Park and the links at Sleepy Ridge will be the first phase of our water reuse plan, and our 2017 goal is to execute the plan. There's funding in place, and we will soon hire a firm to design and oversee the construction of what we call tertiary, which is final treatment at the wastewater Orem Water Reclamation Facility, to then broadcast that water on the park and the golf course. Goal number 6 is to increase education to the public regarding water conservation. I know it doesn't sound like a measurable goal by statistics, but we have increased our efforts.
Neil?
Yes, go ahead.
Just a question. Could you go back to that previous slide? So I'm aware that Sleepy Ridge uses about a million gallons a day.
During their peak usage, yes.
And they have been using that, our culinary water coming out of the water tanks on the northeast part of our city, carried all the way across to the golf course.
That's correct.
So this will be a huge savings of culinary water because we'll be using, reuse water. Do we have any idea what the Lakeside Sports Park uses per day?
About a similar amount, 800,000 or so.
So this could be 1.5 million to 2 million gallons per day that we are actually saving in the city of our water supply. And over the course of the summer, that's huge.
That's correct.
This will also delay the needed transmission line that will be developed from the water tanks in northeast Orem to the southwest or the central part of the community. That size of that water line can be reduced, and the time frame of that can be pushed out into the future as a result of implementing this tertiary treatment plan.
That's great. Congratulations. That's where we want to go.
Thank you for supporting the master plan.
Yeah, so we've been reaching out even more to the elementary schools about the 4th grade age, and we have a plan where we take a model, we take some trinkets, and we do a little education afternoon for the children that they really seem to enjoy. What's interesting is we produced a video going on about 20 years, maybe even more, and we show that, and it's almost a comedy of showing what old videos looks like to these 4th graders because they're used to CGI and really technologically advanced videos. This is almost a comedy to them.
It's a bit of a homemade family video from back in the 40s. Or not quite that bad, but.
On this number 6, education, I mentioned that we're going to replace all the meters with automated metering infrastructure, which is remote meter reads. And through that program, we hope to use that to educate our residents from messages through that program, and also the education that they'll get individually and the information they'll get. Their water use data will be in their hands, much like their mobile banking app. They'll be able to see where they are and where they stand on a total use, a monthly use, daily use, and be alerted to leaks and other information that they can set up and customize for themselves. So those are the 6 goals, and we'll report again on this issue in 5 years, but rest assured that we'll be working diligently during those 5 years to meet these goals and continue the downward trend, and we'll entertain any questions you might have.
Any questions from the council? Councilmember Sumner, you have a question? Okay. Okay. You have a question, Debbie? Okay. All right, this is a public hearing, so we'll open it up to the public. Anyone who would like to come forward and make a comment, please hold your comments to 3 minutes and give us your name. Seeing as how no one is coming forward, we'll close the public comment portion of our public hearing and bring it back to the council. Do we have any comments or questions? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make one. I move that we adopt the 2017 Water Conservation Plan as required by Utah State Code 73-10-32.
Second.
Okay, we'll start with Councilmember Sumner.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, the resolution passes. We'll move on to item number 18, which is also a public hearing on a resolution adopting the 2018 Stormwater Master Plan, a revision of the 2016 Stormwater Master Plan, and Chris Shirkey is our presenter.
Mayor, it's good to see you.
Together with Neil. Good to see you again. Been a while.
What we have before you tonight is our 2018 Stormwater Master Plan, or a revision of our 2016 Stormwater Master Plan. You might ask, well, we just went through this. Why are we back here again? It's only been 2 years. And I'd like to answer that. Whoops. I don't know what that is. Well, actually, I do.
Building Salt Lake. Correct?
I do. Thank you, Tom. Oh, I don't know where that came from.
It's a message.
One moment, please.
Now you get in color. Hopefully he comes back in time for the vote.
Maybe before the first slide goes up.
Okay, I think we're back.
Had to leave early, too.
You're the master of technology. Is there an issue?
I think it is coming.
Is this the perfect storm?
Yeah.
You really watered that joke down, didn't you?
I think we got it now.
Really?
Oh, that's not it. I don't.
Dave, are you ready with your musical number?
We'll entertain the audience with a joke. What did the grape say when it got squished? Nothing, just a little wine.
That's as good as we got, apparently.
And that's why we're presenting on water conservation plans and stormwater plans.
There it is. All right. Now I promise to accelerate this. I apologize for that. I don't know what happened.
So in conclusion.
So, 2016 Stormwater Master Plan was adopted in January of that year. And on the heels of that, about a year later, we learned that the West Union Canal Company was looking to get out of the canal business and maintaining and operating a canal system. Wow. Okay, that's it. Let's see if that works now. How about this? That's not even showing up now. Okay. I better not touch anything else. Let's see. We have what we have here is the West Union Canal is shown in purple on this map. The West Union Canal serves as an irrigation facility for irrigation waters for those that own shares in the West Union Canal Company, and of which Orem does not own shares, but has owned shares in the past. We do participate with the West Union Canal Company to maintain and operate that canal, and we have a contract and an obligation to do so. The reason why we do is because we have stormwater that actually goes into that canal. And as a result of the canal company basically folding or not continuing in the way it has in the past, Orem felt the need that we needed to look at a new plan to develop new ideas and new solutions to help convey the stormwater where we currently put stormwater into the canal today. And as you look on this map, let's see if it's showing up. My pointer is not. Okay. On the south and west portion of the community where you show in between University Parkway and State Street, some of you may know that there's a canal at that location. That's the West Union Canal. It's basically an open canal. It's a concrete lined ditch. And the West Union Canal Company performed a study to look at the integrity of that canal and to evaluate whether or not it was feasible to maintain that canal into the future, and if so, should they pipe it or line it? And they elected, if they were going to do this, it would be to pipe it. As a result, that was going to be a large cost that would be passed along to the West Union Canal Company. There are several homes along that bench in Provo City, hundreds of thousands of dollars of homes there. The canal company, those that were in charge, the majority shareholders, determined that it was not in their best interest to continue and to pass that along to those shareholders. The canal company even approached the city of Orem to take on the canal and to run it as an irrigation canal conveyance facility. Orem City determined quickly that it was not in our best interest. In fact, there's much liability associated with that canal, where in fact the canal company is not even sure where the canal is piped. It's piped in backyards and adjacent to homes and foundations and other areas where they have not been able to successfully determine where it's located. So we felt it was not in our best interest and that we needed to take the water out of the canal. So this Stormwater Master Plan update in 2018 that we have shared with you and is available at orem.org/utilities, that is available for the public to see. But there's about $4.5 million of work that needed to be done and accelerated the master plan, which accelerated those priorities in the master plan to accommodate treating or taking care of that stormwater in the south and west portion of the city. Basically, what that did is it delayed our master plan by about 3 to 4 years. But we had to reprioritize as a result of this. I think there were some members of the West Union Canal Company that were looking to come to this meeting tonight. Perhaps they're here to speak to this. The West Smith Ditch and the West Union Canal Company are somewhat one and the same, and in a portion of that we may need to make an agreement with the West Smith Ditch Company to participate in the maintenance of that canal, which is from the point of diversion off the river down to University Parkway. I apologize for not being able to display everything like I had planned, but that is basically the summary of why we're here tonight and why we needed to update this master plan. It was also coincidentally tied to the new IFFP and IFA and impact fee study that was done for stormwater. The master plan is tied directly to that, and so we felt the need to update the master plan since these projects are targeted within that 10-year window. And so what you have in our discussion tonight regarding the impact fees does take into account these changes in the 2018 master plan. I'd be willing to entertain any questions you might have regarding this topic.
So is there anyone here that belongs to the West Union Canal Company? Okay. Any questions from the council? Councilman Receiver.
Do they own any of the property along that, or is it all just easement?
Portions of it are owned in the form of deeded property or easements. For example, on the northeast portion of this alignment, it runs through the river bottoms area in Provo. When they had to relocate that, or in Orem for that matter, they had to pipe it. And then when they piped it, they had to dedicate an easement. And so that was formally dedicated to the canal company. Otherwise, I would say probably 90% of the right-of-way is obtained through a prescriptive right. In other words, it's been there for 100 years or so, and it's been utilized for that purpose, specifically for irrigating.
So what happens to the property that is owned and deeded? Does that revert to somebody? Do they just retain that?
It will be as long as that use ceases and desists. The West Smith Ditch Company, which owns or has claim to ownership of a portion of this, will continue to use that right-of-way, and that's on the east side of Orem from the point of diversion to the University Parkway.
Okay. And the rest of it just doesn't get used and just gets filled in or covered over or ignored? Or
we don't know for sure what is going to happen. The majority shareholders have determined they're pulling out, or at least going to try to pull out of the company, and then change their point of diversion from this location here that's shown on this map on the Provo River to another location and use that water for municipal and industrial use. The two primary players that have bought up the shares in this company are the Central Utah Water Conservancy District and George Valley Water Conservancy District. So this water is going to change from an agricultural purpose to a municipal and an industrial purpose.
Okay, so can they just leave a vacated canal or ditch, or do they have to go fill it in and prevent some hazard, or what can they do, or should they do with it?
These are excellent questions that perhaps we don't have the answers to at this point. In fact, we've consulted with our attorneys regarding that. As long as there are shareholders that need that water and by right have that right to have that water, the company will exist in some form, but it won't exist as it has in years past. So in other words, there might be a few backyard gardeners that still have one or two shares or a half a share or something like that. It'll be their full obligation and responsibility and liability to maintain and operate that canal after the majority shareholders leave the company.
Okay.
Councilman LeRae has a question for you.
My question is about the liability. Will there be an insurance policy or something that will be there in the event of claims? I mean, who's going to take care of this? Or will that just, you'll be out of luck? Do you have any idea?
Well, it's owned by a private irrigation canal and irrigation company, the West Union Canal Company. And so that obligation will remain with the remaining shareholders. If there is any damage or flooding as a result of that, then it would turn into a private lawsuit perhaps, or a claim against the company itself.
Okay, thanks.
So does the water come from the Provo River originally?
Yes. So at the top right corner of the screen there, you'll see where that purple line starts. That's on the Provo River, and there's a point of diversion at that location. That's about R750 north or so in Orem. but that is in Provo specifically.
So they must have rights to quite a bit of water.
They do. Yes.
All right. Any other questions from the council? Okay, this is a public hearing, so we'll open it up to the public. Anyone wishing to make a comment, please come forward. Give us your name and hold your comments to 3 minutes. Seeing as how no one is coming forward, we'll close the public comment portion of our public hearing and bring it back to the council. Any questions or comments from the council? I would entertain a motion then if someone would like to make one.
I'll move that the City Council by resolution adopt the 2018 Stormwater Master Plan prepared by Bowen Collins and Associates.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. We'll start with Councilmember Larray.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the resolution passes. Thank you very much, Chris and Neil.
Thank you. Mayor, I did fail to mention on that there is no increase with that. That's a point I should have made at the beginning, but...
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jamie, any city manager information items? Okay. I will accept a motion to adjourn to a closed-door meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and that meeting will be held in 107. We'll go ahead and go with Councilmember Larray.
Do we need to specify what the meeting is for?
Yes, and it is a discussion of pending or reasonably imminent litigation pursuant to Utah Code Section 52-4-2051C. And is that your motion, Councilmember Seastrand?
And my second.
And your second. Okay, Councilmember Larray.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're formally adjourned to a closed-door meeting. Thanks to everyone who came.